I like to keep reminding everyone that Puerto Rico is not a foreign country because I am shocked when I was in the House of Representatives that I would have members of the House of Representatives come and ask me whether they needed a passport to visit Puerto Rico. That's true. That's true. And that mentality is appalling, considering the fact that Puerto Ricans have fought and shed blood for American ideals and values in every war since World War I. Among the most decorated in military history of the United States was an all Puerto Rican division during the Korean War, the 65th Infantry Division. So it's amazing to me that we have this attitude as if Puerto Rico was some foreign country and this is about foreign assistance, or this is about, if the 3.5 million citizens of the United States who happen to call Puerto Rico home came to the United States, they would be able to vote, they would have all of the obligations, but all of the benefits of American citizenship, especially in their health care, among others. And unfortunately, we're seeing a significant number of them. I see them in my home state of New Jersey. We have a long history of a long Puerto Rican population in our state, but they're coming in significant numbers because their vision of what the future holds is not, there isn't, in many of their minds, a light at the end of the tunnel. So they're citizens of this great country just as much as you and I, Mr. Chairman. And therefore, that means we have a responsibility of turning it from a crisis to a full-blown tsunami. Now, certainly identifying the causes of the problem are important. There's no question in my mind that local fiscal decisions over many administrations have created a part of the challenge. They played a significant role, and I recognize that. I also recognize this crisis didn't happen overnight. I believe the current administration inherited many of these problems and has taken a number of significant steps to improve the situation. And I believe, as I have worked with Congressman Perolisi, who's done such an outstanding job in this regard, in the inequities at the federal level that have significantly contributed to the problem we face today, and I think as he eloquently spoke of. So we have not only a role but a responsibility to help meet this challenge. Now, I think there's no good reason why Puerto Rico shouldn't have equal access to Chapter 9. I don't believe it's a panacea. But to the extent that you can get people to come negotiate with you in good faith, if they know Chapter 9 is available, then all of a sudden we have a process to negotiate, which would enable them to restructure a portion of its debt in an orderly, legal, and efficient manner. Puerto Rico is included in nearly every other aspect of the bankruptcy code and only lost access to Chapter 9 after an obscure and non-debated provision was slipped into a larger bill in 1984. Now, I don't have the time here to get into why that happened, but there were reasons. Now, I'm a sponsor of the legislation that Senator Schumer talked about to create this inequity, and I understand that's outside of the committee's jurisdiction, but so many of the things that we're talking about here, without the ability to orderly reorganize, is going to be virtually impossible at the end of the day. So I think that's incredibly important. I think there's enormous inequities in health care, and I've been dealing with that on this committee for some time. I've offered several efforts here. We skipped over the Puerto Rican hospitals in terms of healthcare technology, and everybody admits it was a mistake. But we haven't helped them correct the mistake, despite our efforts to do so. You know, there are several bills that I've introduced to address these healthcare inequities, most recently with the Improving the Treatment of U.S. Territories under Federal Health Programs Act of 2015, which is S-1961. This is a comprehensive bill that includes provisions ranging from ensuring the island has equitable and sustainable Medicaid funding to changes to Medicare to ensure equity to hospitals, physicians, and seniors on this island. I think Dr. Hulsing in his remarks talked about, when asked on a question about how do we get growth, one of the things he said, having a more significant sustainable health industry in the island. Well, if it's going to be difficult to achieve that if you can't be reimbursed in an equitable way. And several of the bill's provisions don't even require a legislative fix, which is what's really alarming here. If we wanted to help Puerto Rico, CMS is capable of finding an alternative way to calculate Medicare DSH payments to hospitals to account for the fact that Puerto Ricans don't have access to SSI, and to adjust payments to Medicare Advantage rules to more accurately reflect the situation facing plans on the island. That could be done by CMS. Those policy changes don't require any new legislation and would have a substantial impact on the healthcare system in Puerto Rico. Another area where U.S. citizens living in Puerto Rico are treated unfairly is in the refundable tax credits. As the resident commissioner noted in his testimony, Puerto Rico is partially excluded from the child tax credit, completely prohibited from receiving the earned income tax credit, with a labor participation rate that is significantly below the mainland's. We should be doing everything we can to incentivize work, which is exactly what the EITC does. And it makes no sense that an American citizen living in Puerto Rico is ineligible for the EITC, yet if the same citizen moved to the mainland, they would be able to benefit, even though they would have an identical federal tax liability. And taken together, I think these common sense steps would help pull Puerto Rico back from the brink of collapse, then create an opportunity to set the stage for economic growth and give the government a fighting chance to dig out of this hole. Now, finally, Mr. Chairman, I've heard some other suggestions, such as driving down the wages for Puerto Rican workers. I believe they're short-sighted, counterproductive. They'll only exacerbate the problem. The poverty rate in Puerto Rico is approximately 45%, and a per capita income one-third of the mainland average, and 37% of the population relying on nutritional assistance just to eat, It seems to me that the last thing Puerto Rican workers need right now is a pay cut. So I look forward. I know that, there's people look at 936 and say that that was a mistake. Well, we have enterprise zones. We have empowerment zones. My states all across the country are offering tax breaks in order to create investment and growth. So we have to look at all of this in the totality. For the 3.5 million citizens who have served this country, still serve this country. If you go with me, Mr. Chairman, to visit the Vietnam Memorial, you will see a disproportionate number of Latino names and a disproportionate number of Puerto Rican names on that wall. So this is about doing the right and moral thing by 3.5 million American citizens, and I look forward to, beyond this hearing, to some action both by the committee and hopefully the Judiciary Committee as we work together to ensure a greater future for the people of Puerto Rico. And my questions were answered by members of the panel. I appreciate their testimony.